Hello, everybody. Welcome to Darren After the Credits. We are here today to talk about Percy Jackson Season 1 and What If Season 2. We have a lot to talk about today, so without further ado, we are going to be jumping into today's episode. Let's go. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. Darren After the Credits. 2024 first stream of the new year, guys. We are back with another one. Joined today, like always, by Darth Bunyan. Darth, how's it going, buddy? How are you?
Hey, it's good. Thanks for having me back. How are you doing?
I am good. I'm very excited to be back. We're back full time, kind of after the long kind of Christmas break from Invincible. Obviously, a couple weeks ago, we talked about all of our favorite upcoming shows of this year, kind of prepping ourselves for what we get to talk about this upcoming season, which I'm very excited for. And first, anything from me in 2024 as well. So it's very crazy. We're in this new year, this new era, I guess. How are you kind of feeling about just it being a new year, a new season, a new everything, kind of?
Okay, so back when the TV apocalypse was looming, I was sitting there saying that we're going to suffer, we're going to go through some hardship, but once it's all done, that's it. We're on to brighter, more golden pastures, or greener, whichever one you want to go for, right? And I'm holding on to that. Didn't realize quite how much it would be hurting, especially because, like, with regards to DC, they had all of the canvas that they needed before they started chopping it away until, down to the crumbs that we have. But, here we are. But still excited.
Yeah.
Winded a little bit, but excited.
Yeah, man. I mean, this year, I do think just has a lot to offer. Like, I know we talked about it last time. I think, like, I was putting together, like, my most anticipated films of this upcoming year, and I was, like, kind of struggling a little bit. Like, once you kind of look at all of it and everything's coming out, there's obviously some good stuff coming out, but it's on a much lesser extent, especially since the last, like, 2021, 2022, 2023, with such massive years and so many massive things coming out. So, but I think TV is really going to carry this upcoming year because there is so much. If you're a DC fan, you're a Marvel fan, you're a, Ninja Turtles or like whatever, like there's so much coming out, something for everyone this year. And I'm very excited to jump in. And already, like, man, a lot of these shows came out at like the worst possible time for people who like to make content because it came out during the week of like Christmas. It's like, I'm not gonna make y'all come on here and talk about Percy Jackson on Christmas Day. Like, I'm not gonna do it.
It was as good as it was. It was not worth dropping Christmas Day.
Yes. So we missed out on a couple of weeks of Percy Jackson and Reacher and daily drops of What If as well, which was
that was a big swing for them.
Yes, I mean,
with the holidays with a daily release.
How was that? Yeah, no, I mean, like, how was that for you? I'm actually going to be very curious to hear like differing opinions on that. I personally really enjoyed having something new to watch every day of the week. That felt like an event to me. But how was that for you? Just getting 9 days in a row having new MCU content, like that was kind of insane.
It was super interesting because of how good the story was, and what it was doing. And then how similar it was to season 1. As you know, on my channel, we sat and broke down like the episode names and then what would be coming and stuff. And then even then, when I thought I knew what was coming, there was still like this whole big twist. But there was a couple of days where I missed it. So it's like, like what we go through, like waiting each week. It was like that sped up in a tiny process.
Yeah.
So interesting because I kept getting like, I'm missing out because I waited 2 days and then watched 3 all in one go. So in those 2 days I was like, there's a whole bunch happening that I'm just following just all over the place about. So
no, you're 100% right. There was one day I missed and I ended up doubling up, and the like 2 that I doubled up happened to be my 2 favorite episodes. So that was just like an hour. I was just like, this is so great. I cannot believe it. But yeah, let's just saying hi to chat really quick. Change on how Chainsaw reacts in the house. Buddy, I hope you're doing well. I hope everything's going well for you. Kai in the house. Kai, how's it going? Hope you are also doing well. Liam in the house. How's it going, Liam? Hope you are also doing well. Hope everyone is good today, and Happy New Year. Happy New Year, man. Cannot believe it's 2024. Insanity, absolutely bonkersness. And then we got this guy Robert. Don't know who that is. I don't know. But let's jump in, because we have a lot to talk about today, especially with What If. But we are going to be jumping into the Percy Jackson series, Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Now, first of all, I do want to establish kind of our history with this franchise. Robert, you have said you're completely new to this world, right?
No.
Okay.
I saw the movies.
Okay.
I say movies. I saw the movie and some of the other one.
Okay.
I saw the first one, which is the most important part of where we are. I can go back to the other one after this for season 2.
Sure.
But yeah, no. So I saw the thing. I know like a minimal amount about Greek mythology.
Sure.
So I've got a small toe in there.
Yeah. No. Okay. So we're on the kind of the same fighting field for sure. Yeah. No, I watched. Man, like this franchise has been very weird because again, I have not read the books. I do really want to once the season wraps up and I can have having experienced the first season. I want to re-see the story and what they adapted and what they didn't. But up until this point, I've only seen the movies, which I hear from almost everyone are not good. Like they are fine films, but as a adaptation of the books, not so much.
Yeah.
So what was your kind of your first reactions based off these 3 episodes and kind of what we are establishing for the rest of the season and also this seemingly 5-season journey?
One, they've made Percy likable, which I think is based on the movies. I thought that would be impossible, right? No, no shade thrown at the actor. But the way that guy played that role, sure. I did not like him at all. You know what I mean? Brendan T. Jackson working as Grover, loved him. Yeah. Pierce Brosnan with a beard being a centaur. You know what I mean? Love it.
Yeah.
So this show, Annabeth as well, right? Again, what's her name? That chick that plays Annabeth in the movie.
Alexandria something, right?
Dario, right? Isn't
it? That's it.
Right? I got the last name. I was struggling with the first one. So like even her, like Annabelle, weren't very likable. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what it is about the energy on that set. I mean, maybe the catering was off. I don't know, but just the whole time, these guys, I'm vibing with these guys. I love this version of Chiron. I said before, I love Pierce Brosnan's, but this guy, awesome. The gravitas of that man's voice, honestly, it just screams I have a horse body. It's so cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like what this has done is it's made me want to go back and rewatch the movies, because I'm not gonna lie, there's been a couple of times in this when I thought, ooh, have they like rushed to get here? Have they rushed to get to this point? Because and then I started trying to remember the movie and I thought, if it was rushed there, then it was rushed there, certainly as well.
It was absolutely rushed there. Yeah. I'm very curious to go back and go through and read the books for the first time, because I'm curious to see, because I've heard a lot of people say, hey, it's going really, really slow. They need to pick it up. I've heard some people have been like, hey, they're rushing it way too much. We need to speed it up. So like, I'm going to be very curious to see what they've adapted and what they have. And I think with a show like this, they're doing that. I think that means they're doing their job, because I think the best thing a adaptation of a book or a play or a game or whatever it is you watch this and then you want to be like, well, now I want to go back and see the original adaptation. I want to go back and view what I've missed. That is when you're doing your job, in my personal opinion. I think they're already doing that. I think this is going to bring me and so many other people to this franchise for the first time. I do kind of want to go back to like this cast and these kids. I do think that's the highlight of the show. I do not think this is a perfect show so far. I do think there's been a couple of bumps in the road. Nothing too personal or like nothing like outrageous or anything. But I do think the highlight is watching, especially in episode 3, where we really get this trilogy at hand, is these guys playing off of each other. you already have this like Harry Potter-esque vibe with them, with these three. They all have such different vibes, so different feels, and I love, and we had this with like the like Ninja Turtles franchise previously in the year. You casted actual children, like they are trying to play. For so many years now, we've had, I mean, in everything for years. Power Rangers, if it's Riverdale, if it's whatever, you have these 25, 30-year-olds playing 14, 15, 16 years olds, and
Yeah.
you know, it's something you get used to after a while. It's just like, oh yeah, Tommy Oliver was 30, you know, like
Yeah.
whatever, like that. Like Archie Andrews is 37 years old. It's like, whoa, what, you know, that's something you get used to. But it is so refreshing watching these kids. They are so clearly like, he's 14 and the actor's 14, and it shows. And you know, I've heard a lot of people saying, well, their acting isn't very good. It was like, they're 14. Let them grow into these roles. Let them grow into their parts. And I think they will. And you know, they're not bad or anything. I've really enjoyed what they've done. I'm enjoying the way they're setting everything up. And
I believe all of them, all of how they are. Like the only one that I would give like question a little bit of like how I've been buying into who this person is maybe Luke. Other than that, like the three main guys, like this, especially the guy that plays Grover, he is so good. The subtle little looks that he does to like display his nervousness and the twitches and stuff, he is phenomenal. Okay, and they are acting. They're kid actors acting as kids. I mean, what kid does anybody know that walks around in real life with a fucking Oscar-winning speech in their back pocket or memorized in their head? Nobody. They are small, nervous people. That's their thing. You know what I mean? That's the whole shtick. So let them do that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. And you know, it's very clear, like on display, that this is a show about kids coming into their own and learning their heritage. And I don't know, I feel that from all three of these characters. Like they are finding their heritage like in the industry, while these characters are finding it with their parents and the gods and, you know, everything they're doing. And you know, it is one of those things where like I do technically know the story because I've seen the movie, which is very different. Like I know the overarching thing that's ultimately going to happen, or the story that they're telling, but it is very fun to kind of I guess I'm mostly curious to see where the new stuff starts to come in, because I think mostly based off the first three, it is technically things we've seen in the film. Like so far, I do think it is everything we've seen. We've seen more of it than we've seen in the film, but we are kind of staying on that same path. And I'm thinking episode 4 onward, we're going to start getting a little bit more than we've seen previously, for sure.
Yeah, like so like it was episode 1 or 2. There was that lady that was like wooden. Do you know what I mean? Like the nymph of the trees or whoever she was that like told Grover to go and talk to whoever. Still dying to know who that was. But then this is one of the reasons I want to go back to the movies, is because like, yes, it was touched on that Percy is a forbidden child, that one of the three, like the big dogs, can't have kids, hence why he's being targeted. But I don't remember there being another one. You know what I mean? Like Zeus's one that Annabeth was friends with Luke and Grover. So like on the back of that, I also don't know if the dynamic that Grover and Annabeth have now was also in the movies. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
The fact that because when he was being pulled left and right in number 3, I really didn't get it until he said something. I genuinely just assumed, like when he said, "Oh, they're Satan protector," I was like, "Oh, so these guys are like, you know, like familiars for demigods. Like you satyrs are just handed out like sidekicks." You know what I mean? Good luck to you.
100%.
Here's your half goat man. Good luck. You know, like, is that how it works? I don't know. Like everyone's got standard issue satyrs rocking around, right? But then it was like, oh, it was you. Oh, wow. Now I can see, like, now it all makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Because before you could have very easily played it into the his personality of, oh, I'm just a nervous guy. She's a strong, very strong girl with a strong will and opinion. Not surprising who her mother is. And then you got Percy Jackson, Will of Iron, kid's gonna save his mum. I ain't getting in the middle of either of these people. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But it's much more personal than that because of how deeply he obviously cares for who his charge is. Do you know what I mean? It's obviously not just a job for this guy, which I absolutely love.
Sure, 100%, 100%. Yeah, I mean, just kind of touch on it quickly. Like, Medusa from our last episode was an actress that we knew from another show, which was one of the things I was very excited going kind of into this show, because like that was something they announced a long time ago. I think the Flash are still in the air, or like just announced his final season or something when this casting was done. So I was very curious.
You're gonna have to tell me who it was, because that hat did too much of a good job.
Oh, it's Nora Allen, Barry's daughter, Jessica Parker Kennedy. Yeah.
You are lying.
No. Do you want me to pull
You are lying.
You didn't notice it?
No. Are you shitting me?
No.
I do not believe you, sir. That is crazy. Am I going to have to rewatch a whole episode just to see who that is?
Yeah, what? Rewatch it just in mind that it's... Hold on. I'm going to pull up this photo.
No, she did such a good job. Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah, she did really good. She's probably my favorite thing from the show so far, just as far as like, obviously just knowing her from other stuff now, knowing her thing with the Flash.
She is. Jesus Christ. Yep. Wow. Do you know who I would have said? I would have said Lena Luthor or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I thought she did an incredible job. I thought they really did a good job. And I really liked the depth that they gave her in this episode of just not being your standard I'm gonna kill you now, blah, she had a lot of depth to it. She had a lot of personality. To the point was are we just not gonna make her a villain here? Oh no, she is a villain. She just took a while to get there. But I thought she did incredible. I now just want a prequel show where we follow her. Because I don't want to be done with her.
I'm glad you brought this up, because this is something I was very interested in talking about, because we're talking with some beings that are as old as time. Right? Mm-hmm. And then you get people that are Medusa who are longer than any mortal, but have been. So they've had their feet in both camps. Sure. Do you know what I mean? So is it a case of these people, because it could be a case of these people just live long enough to become the villain, i.e. the gods.
Sure.
Doubt that's the case, because, with mythology, they've done some horrific things, right? But she could have been the victim. What she said could have been right, which probably is the case. It makes more sense somebody be getting jealous and going, well, I'm going to make them suffer, than Medusa just playing games. That, that doesn't feel as right. And then to have the turn she had to then become a monster, do you know what I mean? I think it was fascinating, because Percy and Athena and everybody, not Athena, Annabeth and everyone else are going to have to work really hard not to be like Medusa.
Yeah.
Because she was removed from humanity, and therefore her humanity gets removed from her. Do you know what I mean? It's I imagine it's like a brain, the brain is a muscle you got to keep flexing. Because if you don't, then it just gets robbed from you. Get evidence in the show.
100%. And I think one of the most interesting about these Greek stories is obviously your main figurehead is your Zeus, is your Hades and stuff like that, but in so many of these stories they just suck. They are almost the villains at times, and seeing how the world praises them, but also at the same time they've Zeus is a player. He's had sex with every human, he's not a great guy. So I do think that's a very interesting kind of, especially when we're dealing with the children of these things, and the balance that they have to do is they're our parents, and we love them, and we want their approval and stuff, but also they messed up a bunch, and we're dealing with the aftermath of all these different things. So yeah, I'm very curious to kind of see where we go in these next 5 episodes? 5, 6?
Who's the guy in his
6 sword? Episodes? What's that?
Who's the guy in his sword? Is that a Hydra face?
That is Percy.
No, in the sword.
Oh, in the sword. I'm sorry. I have no idea. Looks like a wolf type thing.
So I was gonna say kind of like tigery, but like it also has horns, so it could be like a hydra maybe.
Sure.
I did. Okay, one, I love the addition of the hat, and if we do go back, like if you go back and read it, if I go back to read it, I'm dying to know, is the hat a part of the source material or just like something they've added in?
Sure.
Because I'm so glad that they've also got rid of the head. Lin-Manuel Miranda being in it, that was a goddamn surprise. That was awesome. I was like, that handsome man looks familiar. And then I was like, oh my god, that is him. Because like the second he like whipped off the hat or whatever, I saw his face. I was like, oh my god, you're in this. What are you doing in this? That's great. That's great. You know what I mean? Good for you. Like such a random project for him to rock up in, and Hermes as well. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if he popped up in the Flash as a music meister, that would have made sense. You know, but Percy Jackson as Hermes. Explain that leap, you know?
Yeah, I remember that getting quite a bit of hate when it was announced.
Oh, really? People.
Yeah, I mean, just a very like book readers not seeing him as that character and stuff like that. Which I don't know the book readers, I don't know the fan base, but like he was one of the 3 actors I knew that were in this movie. 2 of them obviously appearing in this episode, and one being the casting of Zeus, which I won't say if you haven't seen it yet, but a very good actor playing Zeus as well. But yeah, do you kind of any other final thoughts on Percy Jackson? Because we have a long stream ahead for the main show.
I'm really glad that they got rid of Medusa's head and that they did not go like the Clash of the Titans route. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like that's gone now. So now it's just a case of completely up to them. They're going to go completely random with it, and I'm excited. I'm here for all of it. Quick question before we do move on. Mm-hmm. Electo, right? Obviously she's dead. Was her sister played by the same person, or was that somebody else? I couldn't really tell.
Yeah, I do not know. I do not know.
Because I love Megan Lalani, or whatever her name is. I forget her name. Right. So if she is playing all of the not Valkyrie, what are they called? The screeching harpies. What are they? Sure. Whatever they are. More power to her. Fury, thank you. Sure. Furies. That was it.
Yeah, I'm very I am very excited where we go, because we have like 8 episodes in total, so we got like several more episodes to tell the story, seeing where we go next, what other cast members pop in here, and as we continue this journey through Percy Jackson. But we are going to be moving on to our main topic today. This episode mostly dedicated to a 9-episode drop this week in the form of Marvel's What If, the first, or I guess the last MCU project of Phase 5, if you will. Now we have 9 episodes to cover today. We will try not to talk about each one too long, but some of these we gotta talk about. Like I haven't talked about these episodes anywhere else thus far, really, on any other the panels and channels I appear on. So I have a lot to say. So first one is season 2, episode 1, titled "What If Nebula Joined the Nova Corps." This was the first episode. I have opinions on it. I have potential hot takes on this episode. So I'm going to be very curious. Ooh. What was your thoughts on each episode? And like, I also do want to preface this by saying what I do think is cool about a show like this is that I could like or dislike one of these episodes, and that's okay, because that very next one could be one that I love. And I think that's a very interesting thing. Like each person's ranking of this, it's like having 9 different movies. Like each person's ranking of it is going to be so drastically different. So what was your opinion on the first episode of What If?
Okay, yeah, so I'm glad we're doing episodes and then overall, because like you, I love certain episodes.
Yeah.
And again, I'll get to the end bit later, but it's like working with clay. is all I'm going to say, right? But episode 1, it gave me like Judge Dredd, like Blade Runner kind of vibes.
Sure.
Loved it. I thought it was awesome. It gave Nebula even more of the spotlight that she deserves. It was really interesting. There was a point recently where it said that we've come out of the Taika Waititi revolution. And I think that season 2 was made before the announcement and decision because it was chock full of that guy.
A lot of Korg this season.
A lot of Korg.
Like at least three different episodes features him, which I personally like Korg. I am a defender of Korg, man.
Listen, I'm a defender of Korg, but not every episode.
I thought I would argue What If is like the perfect place for him. Like I think he is a character where too much of him it doesn't work. Like in the Thor movies, at least in like the last one, it was too much. And I think everyone agrees with that. I think that's why a lot of the hate happens. But I think like 2 minutes in like a 30-minute episode is like the perfect amount of him. And I think he worked in most of these.
What If Korg was everywhere.
Sure. I mean, he wasn't a lot. He's just, I guess, that easy character to kind of slip in there and have him voice.
It was really cool. It was a fun episode.
Okay.
I gotta say, because there was a twist at the end. Like, obviously, everybody's seen it, so they're already here. When Nebula's like, I knew the second you told me, do whatever it takes. I actually went back and I watched that conversation, and she does subtly react to it, and it could just be her being played off as cool or like stoic or whatever, but it is genuinely her reacting to that, like, oh shit.
Sure.
You know? It was all done brilliantly, and then Peter Serafinowicz coming back. Didn't get John C. Reilly. I don't think that would have been great. But yeah, we had all the core members we love. Glenn Close, come on, like. Yeah. Having her back is never a bad thing, especially when she's calling people pricks in phase 2? Phase 3?
Mm-hmm. 2, I think.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, no, episode 1 was a lot of fun and loved it. What did you think?
Okay, I don't think this is a bad episode. I really don't. I feel like it came off very strong when it first aired. It's not a bad episode. I think it's a bad What If episode, though. I think as far as like when you're pitching episodes of a show called What If, it's like, all right, what's a thing that we couldn't possibly do in any other timeline or something? And I just think, and especially as your jumping off point episode, a show that's been off the air for 2 years, I was not personally super impressed by this, especially when they start off the episode with such a more interesting pitch in like my opinion. Like they start the episode being like, oh, Ronan like betrayed Thanos and he took over, and I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. And we never see it. And then like, and again, not a bad episode. Nothing bad about this episode. I thought they made it, like, you know, the writer and all of that killed this episode. I thought it was very, very good. I just think they kind of missed the opportunity a little bit to tell a more interesting story, in my opinion. And I will say I agree. Okay. But hold on to that thought until we get to episode. There's a couple on here, and I like this is gonna be a thought I want to echo for every one of these, as to be like, oh yeah, like this is and like this is kind of my mindset going into every one of these episodes. It's like, was this a good? Was it like it could be a good episode, but was it a good What If episode? Was it a good? Did it take the advantage of its medium correctly? And I think some, like I think some at least did it. I think I will say this like right up front. Again, I have a lot of thoughts on the season. I think season 2 is much better than season 1, in my opinion. Like I think they used this medium last season as far as like being a What If show. I thought was awful. Like as much as I liked the episodes, they didn't take the What If as a medium from the comics or anything seriously whatsoever. It's just like, let's tell stories. Like, it didn't feel like they did that, and I think they did. It
was literally origin stories with one twist.
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
Which I because like I agree with this episode. I liked it, but I wasn't like, yeah, this is the start we needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're back. You know what
I mean? I definitely think it should have been like number 2 or 3. And I think if it was, I would have liked it much better. I think it's just being the start of it. I was just like, that was okay. That was all right. I just didn't feel anything after it.
I
But I
didn't
will
feel that
say,
way with season 1, episode 1 though either. If I'm 100%
I
honest.
I would probably prefer this over their start of last season, because I would also agree that was a pretty bad way to start off the show. Although I get why because I think we're gonna talk about Carter, because I know Carter is a big topic currently, but she's kind of become the show's like anthem, like the show's main kind of character. So I understand why they wanted to start with her last season, but I would probably rank this over the starter Carter last year. Starter Carter, that's funny. I also want to give a shout out to Howard. I thought this was the best usage of Howard in the MCU thus far. I thought he was very, very cool. I think if there's ever been a better pitch for like a Howard movie, this was it. I would watch a special thing with him, something with him in the future if they wanted to do that, and if people would watch it, I would be tuned in. I also thought like Karen Gillian as Nebula was amazing. Like she is.
Yeah.
She's been last couple of years, especially. She's been climbing the ranks as one of my favorite MCU characters. Like I love her.
And now she's got a badass coat and a fin.
Yeah, no, I thought again, and I think her voice acting work here was very, very good. She did a great job. It's nice seeing her again. I know we had her on season 1 as well, but it was nice getting that spotlight on her, even if I didn't think it was the most amazing episode. Yeah. Alrighty, do you have any final thoughts on this one, or should we move on?
Not specifically about this episode, but more about the Captain Carter conversation.
Sure.
And that like Benedict Cumberbatch was poised to take like lead of the MCU. Do you know what I mean? And then
sure.
There was a great way in with Strange Supreme, so you could have like multiple versions of him. Captain Carter is a great way to have another Captain America, into the MCU, because we already got Sam.
Yeah.
That being said, I am really interested to see how a Captain America without Super Soldier Serum works, because he is more a man of the people than a man who has Super Soldier Serum and will live 100 years or more. Do you know what I mean? And still look 30. You know, the problem with them like putting Captain Carter on such a pedestal to where we're expecting her live action is that, no shade on the actress, but Hayley Atwell is 41 years of age. Are we really expecting her to start a superhero workout regimen now? For our enjoyment for the next 10 years? I
don't think so. I think we'll talk about this a lot more when we get to episode 4 or 5. I think it's I don't know, it's something. But it's one of them. But let's move on. I mean, speaking of Peggy, not Captain, but a Peggy Carter. When did Peter Quill attacked Earth's Mightiest Heroes? This was I had very, very, very strong opinions when it first came out, and I still do, but I do think as more came out, my opinion has kind of shifted a little bit. I will say I think this is one of the funnest concepts that they did this season. I think I really love the like creativity of like, hey, we have a bunch of these older characters. We have these characters that we'll never see in their prime in the MCU. It's impossible to see this in live action. So we're going to do an animated episode on it. And I think that is what you should do more of in What If. I do think that is a massive improvement upon the first one as far as just a concept goes of, writing down things you want to see. What was your kind of opinion on this one, just as a concept and like as an episode?
Oh my god. Okay, so before this episode started, I ate so much crow, okay, because I was sitting there sandbagging Peter Quill as a character in the MCU. Okay. I was like, this guy has zero redeeming qualities. The man is a giant dick, and here he is, based on the title of the episode, going to be taking over the planet with ego. And I went on a whole rant, right? And then Liam was like, dude, just watch the episode, see where we land, And then by the end of the episode, there he is, saving everything with a Kamehameha, you know what I mean? And I look like so, but it was really good. It was a really interesting thing. Like, like a bit bright burny at the start, and then we took a big like left swing. I gotta say, I loved having like an early Avengers with like Bill Foster, Marvel, even though that wouldn't have been a name. It was like Dr. Carol Jennings or something like that, or Benning. I don't know. Blah 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 blah. But yeah, so Marvel, she was cool. Super disappointed that was Howard Stark and not Mobius. Okay, because this trailer came out in season 2 of Loki. I was like, okay, this is the second year we're getting with this man.
Yeah,
put him in the damn thing. That man is a treasure and needs to be everywhere. Korg, okay, give us more Mobius. That's who I want. Okay,
season 3, get him in here. Yeah,
yes,
gotta get him in here.
But yeah, and then like even Hank Pym and T'Chaka as well. That was really cool.
Yes.
That like the whole thing was awesome. It was such a good episode, and a real nice change because I thought I knew where it was going.
Yeah,
like every step of the way, and then I got a nice little surprise. So I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this lineup of characters a lot. I really hope we see this lineup again because I think it's a very fun lineup. I think getting to see an older Peggy and Howard's a lot of fun, especially after watching Agent Carter this last year. I think getting to see Hank Pym. I have pitched for a while in the MCU like a Ant-Man prequel about Hank and Janet, like in their early years of being Ant-Man and getting to see that world. I think that'd be so fascinating. And this kind of gave me a piece of that I wanted. I think this is easily the most I've loved Hank in the MCU. I think Hank, I love him as a character. I think he's been done very dirty in the Ant-Man movies. I don't think they've done him justice. I think his best was like the first one, and just downhill he got like consistently not bad stuff, just not enough to do as a character. As cool as the character as he is, he just doesn't get enough.
He was there as a joke for number 3, really.
Yeah.
It was all jokes.
Ants.
Like
And the Black Panther, of course, was really, really good. I'm glad they got this actor back. I hope he's in the like new show that they're making that comes out this year. My issue, and this is going to become a coming theme on the episodes I don't like this season, or like less, I guess, is there's not enough time. This is an episode where there is just 30 minutes is not enough time to introduce 7-8 different characters and set the plot and set the mood and go into this world. Every single one of these characters could have done with so much more screen time, so much more time to go back and forth. And again, that's not their fault. They have 30 minutes. They did their best. I think they did a good job. And I do think a little bit of that time this episode went to stuff that we've seen in the past. It went to Guardians 2, right? Yeah. A plot line that we've seen in the past. Not to say I like the Ego stuff. I thought Ego was fun, but I do wish they could have set a little bit more time to the Avengers being the Avengers at times. But I did really enjoy this episode. I thought it was a lot of fun. I like seeing all these characters together. Marvel, I'll be honest, probably should have been cut. As I wanted to like her, but they gave her nothing. Like
you've got to have Annette Bening around. Shit.
She like showed up. Like she didn't, because we've never seen this character, right? Like she's like a new character for this thing, right?
Yeah.
I think she's in the comics.
Did was walk up to Captain Marvel in #1 that was actually her.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know, like. And, like, I get you need, like, at least one female on this team. I get that. I 100% do. But, like, I feel like there was just not enough time. Like, if we had more time to spend with them, maybe. But she did nothing in this episode. She just kind of showed up, and I was like, oh, wait, who are you again? But, like, again, if you have, like, 10 more minutes, I think this is one of my favorites of the season. But the fact that there is just not enough time, it does kind of go lower on my ranking, personally.
That's fair. That's fair. Like I said, I enjoyed it, but like you said, it didn't. Not that any of them really need to go anywhere because season 1 didn't until episode 8 and 9 anyway, and then neither did this. So this is the thing. Like, it's trying to dip its toes in both things, but it can't. It's trying to have its cake and eat it, right? Because it either needs to be Star Wars Visions, and every episode needs to be completely different in every way, or there is a running theme. Like it's what if, but there's a running theme. Pick a lane. You can't just go the whole season with no connectivity apart from like maybe an end credit scene, maybe.
Yeah.
To then, right, our final 2 episodes, right, the shit's hit the fan, quick, scramble.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's not great. So, I wish if I'm honest, I wish they just stuck with Visions and they just kept everything different. Because then, as well, if they wanted to, they could maybe even added the extra 10, 15 minutes and make it a 45-minute episode season.
I think I agree, and I think it's very cool how they, especially, I think they did actually this element better in season 1, how they all come together into one storyline. Like, I think they did that element a lot better last season than this season, but it definitely has that, like, MCU-ish type thing where it's like, oh no, we need to connect everything together at the end. We need to have this massive fight that brings everything together. It's like, you don't necessarily need this. Like, we saw this with She-Hulk tried to do the Secret Invasion, tried to do it in a big way. Did not work for me.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm with
quite well for me, to be honest. I mean, it didn't need the Hulk in there. I mean, it did at the start, but like, I love that show. That's a show
I like She-Hulk too. I'm saying, like, I felt like what I'm trying to say, like, not necessarily at the ending, but I think She-Hulk felt like they needed to have a storyline, like it needed a big bad. Where I didn't think it needed that. Like, I think it could have just been a 13-episode comedy, and that's okay. You know, it's okay to just be that.
I would have been down for like an 8 to 13 episode, 45 minutes or an hour superhero procedural show.
100%, yeah, and that's what season 2 should be. I think. I don't think they should, especially now that we're getting back to more like it's getting a pilot, it's getting a showrunner, it's getting, like, they could do that again. You don't need, and like the thing about, I don't mean to get way off track, but like the thing about the MCU, and I think that they need to understand now is, and I think fans also need to get this, is that you don't have to watch every project. You don't have to love everything. I want them to get to a point where it's like, hey, this show and this show and this show is my jam, but this one is not my jam because that's a genre that I don't like. And I think they need to learn more about that. Like, What If, I think, can be a very, just each episode is its own thing. It's each story. It's like anthology, where She-Hulk can be a comedy, where Loki can be your time travel heist show. Like, you have all these different elements, and obviously people like us are going to watch it all because we're insane and we like to watch 50 hours of TV a year. But like, you don't have to do that, and you can pick and choose what you like and you don't like, and that's okay not to like a genre that you don't like. So
I will say that if they do follow that idea, that leaves 3 options, and that's 1, to, when there's a reference to something that came up before, to never like mention it. Do you know what I mean? Just have it hanging in there and assume people will know or have to go and find out. 2, have like an asterisk pop up on the screen and then small little writing that says, go and watch season 2, episode 1, minute 14 of this, or a flashback.
Sure.
Which
I mean, you're definitely
season 9 of the Flash. I hated those.
Oh, it's bad.
So bad.
They did it bad. Yeah, no. I mean, you're right. Here's the thing. There's no good way of handling like a shared universe to this size. And I think the thing about the MCU is there's never been a shared universe of this size. Not in the way, not in the scale. Like the Arrowverse did some stuff like that too, but like to this scale and to this budget and to this whole thing. Like, it's never been done before. And I think they're learning as well as we're learning how to manage it all. But we kind of got off on a tangent there. Do you have any kind of final thoughts on this one?
Not this one.
Alrighty, let's move along to What If Happy Hogan saved
Oh my
Christmas?
god, I didn't know they released Lego toys of it. Oh my god, that's amazing.
This was the whole like marketing gimmick of the season, and I'll be honest, I loved the Christmas market. This is the 3rd year now we've got an MCU styled Christmas project, and I really appreciate that.
Is he gold?
What's that? He looks gold for sure. Yeah.
Huh.
Oops. No. Go back.
That's a choice.
But this was the episode. I've seen a lot of talk about this episode. It's been some people's favorite. It's been some people's least favorite. What was your opinion on this one?
I'm still shocked that the Watch has gone from a black guy to a sovereign. I mean, what's happening here? That's crazy. Sorry. This episode was great. This episode was fun. I don't like something this episode did.
Okay.
And that's somehow randomly set up fucking Happy Hogan as a Hulk in every damn universe that's available. Why is that not a thing? It should have been one and done for this.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah, he's Hulk in 3 different episodes.
Stop it. Just stop it. Stop it and stop it now. I swear to God, I love Jon Favreau, but I am done and walking out of a goddamn cinema if he rocks up on the big screen purple.
Yeah.
If he comes up as
Thanos, he should not be in live. Yeah, no, they should leave this in the What If world.
Secret Wars could be up on the big screen, and the second he starts hulking out, I'm off. I'm out. Like, right, that's my line. This is it. I didn't think I'd find it, but I found my line. Oh, anyway, but yeah, this was really, really funny. And again, like Heavy Spoilers was saying, that it cemented Die Hard as a Christmas movie because that's what it is. It's a Christmas movie. I don't care if it came out in July. Anyway, so yeah, but yeah, it was really, really fun. We got the whole Avengers: Age of Ultron opening shot with the team.
Yes, that's really cool.
Really cool. Thor just being an absolute lemon as he always is. Because there's like a real balance with Thor and humor, and it's not like when he's super trying to be funny, and it's not when he's so much a fish out of water that we're just laughing at his expense. It's like in the middle, you know? And that's the right balance that I think What If has found with Thor.
Sure.
Not Party Thor. Let me just make that clear.
Yeah, I think this episode, and I talked about in a previous one, like, was this a good episode or like was this a What If episode? This is the one I give an exception to. This is the one I give that because I know, like, in the writer's room, they're like, hey, we really want to do a Christmas thing. Where can we do it? And they're like, what if? Do a What If episode. And I am fine with that because that's what every show does. Like, almost every Christmas episode is often just like, hey, we're doing things different. It's a Christmas episode. Can we just do this fun thing? And we're like, sure, do that thing. I am totally fine with that. So I don't have an issue that it wasn't a good What If episode. Because if I am basing this on if it's a good What If episode, it's atrocious. Because there is, outside of Happy Hogan being a Hulk and Tony not being able to turn him back to human, there is nothing that says this couldn't be MCU canon. You know? Like, there's nothing, like, this could have all just happened in the past and we just didn't see it. Like, there's nothing else in it. Like, and again, I think that's fine. They wanted a fun thing. And I will say, like, seeing, and there's been a lot of Avengers this season. I appreciate that. But just getting to see the OG, or I guess the old 5, because Thor was gone for most of it. But just seeing that lineup again, all the Avengers just going out Christmas shopping and hanging out with kids, and that was amazing. The
way Tony saved Steve from soccer mums, that was wonderful. That was hilarious.
And that brought me so much joy because, like,
so you say about the Christmas thing,
okay,
right? Let me also remind you that not exactly where we are, but this somewhat in the time span where we are last year, like a year behind, we got the Guardians Christmas special, right? So if we're comparing Christmas projects, then it's back to it being a horrendously bad What If episode.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Because
and then the year prior we had Hawkeye.
Christmas.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, again, I don't think it was a bad episode though. I thought it was a fun, like, animated special. Like, this is very low on my list of, like, What If the season, but I thought it was very cute. I like getting Justin Hammer again. That was freaking sick.
That's another thing I was gonna say. Is I think that, like, some of this is because they know, like, half the fans are gonna watch it, half aren't. So it's like a way to reintroduce people that might be popping back up, because I've said that he would be
Armor Wars
to have for Armor Wars.
I'd be shocked. I would sell my own, like, Tonio clippings if he does not show up in Armor Wars. Like, he's gonna be in it. Of course he's gonna be in it. Like, it makes perfect sense. Like,
so like, but then like if he does just randomly turn up and we don't get a flashback, hopefully we don't. Do you know what I mean? Then the question is going to be, who is that guy? What happened to him? he didn't get killed, obviously, because he's here.
Nope.
So did he get arrested? Like, do you know what I mean? It leads to all of
Yeah.
that. So, like, in the break, you give yourself time to think about it or look it up or do whatever. Do you know what I mean? So it was cool having him back. Would I have done something a little bit different for Christmas? Probably. Sure. Knowing myself, I would have gone for the full cheesy saved Christmas, you know, like old
Santa Claus appears.
Yeah, like have Santa Claus in it. You know what
Actually,
I mean? Like,
that would go hard because that's something fans have been saying for years. Like, oh, like what if Santa Claus exists in the MCU? Well, this is how you could totally do it. You could do it like throw him in like a what if he's like a super powered being and
because he is supposed to be a mutant, isn't he? That's
I think so. I think so. Yeah, you can totally have fun with that. Like you could make it silly. He kills Loki and Thanos or something. They're on over the world and like Santa versus Thanos would be pretty hilarious.
Wow, you just nailed it right there. You just nailed it. He's trying to take half of my good boys and girls who are on my nice list. How dare
not anymore? You bring David Harbour back from his character from Violent Night. You just bring that version in. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Take my money. But no, I thought this was a lot of fun. And again, like it's not a great what if, terrible what if.
We're saying a lot so far. We're 3 episodes in, and we've kind of been like it's a good episode, but as a what if, I would not have gone that way. We've said that. The 3.
I will say this. I think the first 3 are among my least favorite ones. I think as the season goes on for me, like I like on Twitter on these first 3 or 4 episodes, I was saying like, hey y'all, I'm not really liking this. And I got a lot of flack. I was like, this is good, but it could be better, you know? And as the season going on, I was like, y'all, this is really good. So I'm let's just kind of move on to our next one here. And that is what if Iron Man crashed into the Grand Master? So this one I'm very conflicted on because I have opinions on this one. I liked elements of this one. I also didn't like elements of this one. Darth Chose in the house, buddy. How's it going? I will say just right off the bat that I don't think I realized how much I missed Tony Stark in the MCU. Like I want him to stay dead. I'm one of those people that say, hey, you should not bring him back. That that takes away from his death in the MCU. But I have really missed his presence, and he has a presence, and it was very, very nice to see him again. And this actor, and I think most of the actors in the show has done a very good job. He does a very good Robert. He does a very, very good Robert Downey. To the point, it was like I forget that it's not just him in this role. What was your kind of thoughts on this whole thing?
So back to being cork heavy, right? But again, this was supposed to be last season's, right? So
this one really makes sense though. Like this one does really make sense why he's there though. Like it because that's where we found him in Ragnarok as well. He was Korg,
it makes sense to be there. Iron Man, I would argue, doesn't.
Right? Oh, interesting. Okay.
Because, like when Loki and Thor got there, they were passing through the Bifrost, right? And then they went through the Willy Wonka, like bouncing to get there, right?
Sure.
There was just a space over Earth. That was it. That was a portal. There was a portal in our atmosphere or above it that disappeared. So that should have just been it. There was just a rip in space. There wasn't a rip in space in front of a jump or anything like that. There was no reason he should have gone hurtling through the space and ended up with the Grandmaster. All that should have happened is the portal closed and he should have just kept floating. That's it.
Okay, so your issue isn't that he's there, but how he got there then?
Yeah.
Is just like that jumping. Okay, I can get that for sure. I can definitely understand that.
Made no sense. As for the rest of the episode, didn't care for it. I mean, it was fine. It was great. Okay. Loved having Tony there, right? But for me, I was more interested in the dynamic that got set up at the end, right?
Sure.
That's what I'm here for. Like Tony in like a Hulkbuster Iron Man suit and Gamora
against Thanos,
as an intelligent brute force duo that are hit, and they just through guile destroy Thanos that took like XL Avengers to do. Like, what we're saying here, that was sick. I want to see what else they got going. You know what I mean? But no, we got a like sit. Yeah, it was a whole season late.
It was, yeah, it's supposed to be last season.
Now we're sitting here watching the Demolition Derby in space. Like, what? I don't care. I don't care.
That's my listen. Okay, so I think this episode did a lot of cool things, a lot of really cool things. I think, like I said, having Iron Man back was really, really fun. And I really like the Grandmaster and Tony stuff because I do think that plays into like the what if aspect of like, what are two characters that will never interact in the MCU? And it's like Grandmaster and Tony Stark are like, oh, okay, like what do they look like? And that is also a lot of fun to see. They're so similar yet so drastically different all at the same time that it is a lot of fun to watch. And I think Gamora and Tony are also a really, really, really good duo. They are someone that I don't know if you've ever actually seen them have screen time in like Avengers or anything like that. I don't think they have. But they are so similar as well. Like they are.
What you say about Loki? Iron Man and the Grandmaster is that Loki is also very intelligent with dry humor. So they had the potential of that dynamic already in Ragnarok.
Sure.
But chose to have the Grandmaster's reputation put fear into Loki. So that didn't come to pass.
Sure.
So because they chose a decision and stuck with it, we now got to suffer for 30 minutes and get robbed of a different episode.
Sure.
Because they wanted that in there. I mean, that's fine. But they could have had that already. Like you said, I forget which episode it was, but you've already said, like with like Guardians 2 and stuff, there's stuff that we've had that we already could have had.
Yeah.
You just chose to go a different way. Now you're backpedaling.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with you. Like, there's a lot of cool things in this episode that they choose not to focus on, and then we have like 5 minutes of like Mario Kart. And again, some cool Mario Kart. There's some fun things in there, and I saw a lot of people love it, and I love that people are loving it. I am while this all is all going on. It's like I don't really care about this. Like, it's fun, but there's other things we should be doing.
Sorry, I didn't hate it when it was on. I liked it when it was on. But when it's almost like a jealousy thing. I'm sat here jealous of what I could have had. Do you know what I mean? I'm jealous of myself in another universe.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
I'm like, there's a what if right now where they're watching that carry on. Like, they just sliced off Thanos' head. They're coming up with this idea of the Infinity Crusher, which we've seen doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So then, like, they could have had like a Shang Tsung Quan Chi Deadly Alliance thing where they decided to then go against each other because their trust was broken.
Yeah.
There's like a million different ways that dynamic could have gone. And then, as we know, when Tony feels threatened, what does that man do? He collects people like chess pieces. Do you know what I mean? Ready for a battle. Gamora could have done the same, or being alone, like, thing. Do you know what I mean? And like, Tony's not like cemented in being the good guy. Do you know what I mean? Like, our MCU version is, but that's a different version. That's a different guy. You know, he could, like, in a different circumstance where he's like, oh, wow, the whole universe is threatened. I have nobody else here to help temper my humanity. I'm going to make a big call. I'm going to let my ego take over, which he does do. You know? But yeah, no, the Mario Kart's fine. You know? Great.
yeah, 100%. 100%.
Mario Kart. Yay.
And also, like, and again, like we've touched on this, there are so many, like, what if, like, they place you a what if question that you just don't get to see. Like, I honestly, like, you start off the episode, it's like, what if Tony Stark just didn't come home? Like, what if he went up to sacrifice himself and the world thinks he's dead, or he is dead? Like, that is fascinating. That changes literally everything. The MCU as we know it is totally different. I would like to see that. The ending, like you said, is very, very fascinating. What if Tony knows about Thanos after Avengers 1? That physically changes everything. He goes back home, he gets his Avengers, and they go kick his butt. Now, like, what does that look like? Like, there are so many things they set up in this episode. It's like, I'd like to see that, sir. That would be very fun. But I did really enjoy this episode, and I did think this was one of the first ones. Like, okay, we're getting better. I think that like Tony and Gamora is really fun. I think that they have a very similar thing with their dads. Like, they both have these daddy issues that are clearly very different, but also very similar, and it makes their friendship. I would have liked to have seen more of it. I don't know, again, where that would have been on play. And obviously this one was
good as well. They had a good
same 100%. Yeah, they
together.
They were definitely a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm wondering how I would have felt if this was last season instead of this season. But
also, sorry, before we move on, can we just talk about like what even is the Grandmaster at this point? Because if he's looking like an egg, right, like he's in Casper.
Oh yeah, we just
right? And he's like, "Oh, I'm all gooey. This is great," right? What the hell are like some refugee scavengers going to do in a scrapyard to that man that a melting stick hasn't done? That man has to still be alive somewhere, right? No. And his brother, Tavon, right? Because there's no way that they have been offed in any way if they are just reincarnated, like just on the spot or some shit. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy. There's no way.
And you know what? Something that kind of just hit me as well. I feel like if we were going to do this kind of like Mario Kart type episode, why didn't they just do like Contest of Champions? Like, that's something the MCU will probably never do. That'd be so cool to just see like a Contest of Champion type thing. Like, feels like almost a waste of like opportunity not to do it here. God. But we did Mario.
Really, really cool. Like, blow my socks off if they ever did it, which they never will, but they fucking should have, excuse me, again, right? Is something the Spider-Verse has already started setting up. And if they just took the projects of their old projects and put them in the screens that the watcher is watching, do you know what I mean? And just said, all of Marvel is connected. This universe, this multiverse, isn't just the MCU. We are putting all of our eggs in this basket. We are a varied multiverse. Do you know what I mean? The Spider-Verse has already done it. It's already said that the MCU and the Spider-Verse are connected. And then the Spider-Verse with the 90s TV show, the Amazing TV show. Do you know what I mean? It's already done the legwork. So all it's got to do is just splatter them on. Make everybody happy.
That would be really fun if you just like season 3, you just have a story about like Toby Spider-Man. Like, it's just a story about him or something. Like, how insane would that be? It's just like so cool. Him in his 30s, like being a teacher or something. Like, that'd be so sick. Obviously they don't have the rights for that one specifically, but like there's stuff you could probably do.
But even just a small thing of stuff that they've already had. Yeah, I mean, just flying by on like in his world, like I've enjoyed these stories for many years. Let me tell you about what I'm focusing on now. That's like the smallest thing, but like the biggest thing. Do you know what I mean? At the same time, because like it's saying we know what you like and have grown up with. We like it too. We're not just like turning our back on it. We're not saying we don't care. We're not saying it doesn't exist. Here it is. You know what I mean? It's a part of us, as it is a part of you.
Yes. 1000%. All right, we're gonna be moving on to our next one. This was episode 5. This is another one I have very conflicting feelings on. And what if Captain Carter fought the Hydra Stomper? No, this is kind of our first like part 2 to one we had last season. They continued the Captain Carter story where we kind of left her off in both like her own episode, but also the end of What If. Now, I want to start off by saying why I have two like conflicting feelings on this one. Yep. First of all, I really, really, really like this one. This was the first one in the season. I was like, I love this so much. But I think that might just be because it's my favorite. It takes place during my favorite MCU movie. Winter Soldier is not only my favorite MCU, it's one of my favorite films of all time. I love Winter Soldier. What's that?
That's what you can say. My favorite MCU movie, Black Widow.
Oh, no. I mean, I don't hate Black Widow, but definitely, which was very interesting how they kind of combined two MCU stories. Like it really was Winter Soldier meets Black Widow, which merged very well. Like I almost felt like this episode made me like Black Widow even more than I did previously. But why I'm conflicted, because I do think it was a very good episode. I think they used all the elements of the past season, combining. I think both Carter and Nat work amazingly together. This is a duo I didn't know I needed, and it works very well. With all that being said, once again, I do, like I've said in the past, I don't think it works as well as a What If. I don't think, because ultimately, just like episode 2, it is ultimately just two movies we've seen prior. It's things that we've already seen merged together into this kind of newish hybrid story.
Yeah, with a like character shuffle.
Twist. Yes, 100%. And again, as good as it is, the fight, this is probably some of the best fight scenes we've seen in the show. The fight scene in this episode, top notch. I loved getting the Peggy and Steve stuff. Again, Nat and her was really fun. How they did the Black Widow storyline felt a lot neater than the actual film itself. Like I gotta
say, that bit, right? Sorry, was so good, because when Rachel Weisz's name popped up, I was like, no way, she's in it. That's great. I was like, I was fully expecting Melina to show up, right? I had to quickly look up her name. But there I was, right? I was still expecting Dreykov like the whole time. And then the second Melina rocks up, I was like, oh my God, whoa, no way. That was a hell of a twist for the episode. Yeah. I was so down for it. Interesting dynamic of making Steve, like, because of like who he was, like obviously Bucky wasn't that guy. He was like the ladies guy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then like Steve's like the hero guy, even when he's all like anorexic or whatever. But just to make him the Winter Soldier, to just to show that he can be broken, that's all you've done with this episode.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Who cares? Like you said, like you've just spliced two movies together and bang, thank you. Do you know what I mean? You could have actually sat down and thought of a completely new one, you know? Yeah. What if something else, you know? But like you said, really did enjoy it. Like when this is the thing, this show is such a difficult thing. It's because when you're sat there watching it, you're like, I'm here for it. I'm invested. Let me sit and watch it. Stop talking. I'm watching it. Right. And then when you're watching it, it's great. You're enjoying it. You're laughing along. You're like, oh, wow, that was great. And then you stop and sit and think about it half an hour later. And you're like, my God, I would have just done so much differently.
Sure.
You know, and it's such a difficult feeling because you still really enjoy the episodes. And I've gone back, the Kahori one, right? Not gonna lie, the first time I watched that, it was not on Disney Plus. Okay. So pardon me, when I watched it the first time, was sans the subtitles. Imagine that. 20 odd 30 minutes of people talking. Thank God I love foreign cinema. Right, because I did not understand. The only thing that got subtitles was growls and roars and things like that. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
Not a clue what anybody was saying, but I got the vibe of the episode. Yeah. Went back and watched it on Disney Plus, got everything they were saying, and wow, so good, just phenomenal. Obviously, we're getting there. So like that is a prime example of what we're talking about.
Yes.
Right? A brand new hero, a brand new story, a brand new what if, right? Because, yes, it came off of the back of something we had before. Does it need to? No. Right? But it did. Phenomenal. It still keeps us connected. Our roots in the story in the MCU where it needs to be. That's fine. But we got something phenomenally new. And it was amazing. They just, for me, this episode didn't miss in any way.
No, I think this was the best of the season for me. I think this is where it peaks. I think it's up there, and I think it really uses its medium as like not only a multiverse show, but just its solo storytelling. I think it's up there with like the Doctor Strange episode from last season, where it's really, it's on its own, it's separate, it uses the multiverse. This story literally couldn't happen in the main MCU because you need a massive event that didn't happen on our world that happened here to create her power set, to create who she is. It did the what if perfectly, in my opinion, and created a new fan favorite character in 30 minutes I think that's what's What If at its core, when it can come in, tell an amazing story, leave, and you're like, well, I need her in the MCU now. I need this new character in our world, and they did her amazingly. I'm already seeing how important she is to so many people now. It's like we've never had a hero like this before. Not only a hero like her, but such an overpowered hero. Like, she is so OP. If she appears in the MCU, she's one of our most powerful heroes. Like, it's going to be absolute insanity, and I just loved what they did with her, and I loved I don't even know what else to really say about the episode, just how good it was. It's a really, really, really good episode.
So, oh my god, yeah, I'm trying to like go like start to finish from the thing. So obviously you got the start where they're like warning of, okay, first off, the Tesseract being broken.
Yeah, the whole beginning was insane.
Super cool. And then the fact that it finds new life on Earth and stuff, which it has been stated, but like it needs to not be forgotten. Like, there is an intelligence among the stones. There is a will through them. You know what I mean? Liam saying they sounded like people from South Park and stuff. So yeah, like it was really, really good, because obviously you saw the threat and the plight of her people, and then like she discovers her powers, right? And then what I'm really interested in is like the parallel between her and Captain Marvel, which you have to think about, because they obviously got their powers from the same thing, but in a very, very different way.
Sure.
Because from my understanding is the sky place that they're in,
yes,
is either a pocket dimension nestled in the Tesseract, like i.e. the Space Stone, or it portaled them somewhere else that also has their energy.
Sure.
You know? So like I'm very interested in the fact that like if it's how they got their powers as to why they're different, or if it's who they are as people. Do you know what I mean? So does Kahori have this even does Captain Marvel have the same power set and ability potential as Kahori, and vice versa? Or is it a case of we've got our powers differently, we are very different people, so like I'm going to be a very different way and you're going to be a very different way.
Yeah.
You know? Like, say for example, like a radioactive spider bites one guy and then bites a different guy. They got the same powers, but some of them are a little bit different. You know what I mean? Miles has the electric stuff where Peter doesn't. So how does it work? I'm fascinated.
100%. I was just kind of thinking that it is kind of unfortunate that this was a Disney or a What If episode, because I do think that they might slightly struggle bringing her into like the main stuff, because her whole vibe to me is they want more of her. Like, they want her to be this new kind of household name type character. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I kind of wish they did like Werewolf by Night treatment with her, where maybe it was live action, because I think it's going to be very hard. Not that it can't be in this medium, but and I think it was much better in this medium than it would be in like live action. But I do think it's going to be very hard to bring people in from What If. You know what I mean? Because let's be honest, just not even a quarter of like the main MCU fandom is watching What If currently. Like, it has a very small audience. So I'm gonna be curious if like this is like a Secret Wars thing where they bring her in. A lot of people have said Echo, they might bring her in. So
even just like a mention of, right? Because that would be difficult though, because she's obviously from an alternate universe because the Tesseract, right? So that's the only issue. So maybe Secret Wars, but again, like the thing you talk about bringing her into live action, you do face some challenges, right?
Yeah.
If you did bring her in live action, one, you would need to give the supporting cast more time, right? Because
100%,
the other part of her, like say like the Sky Tribe, the ancestors,
yes,
none of them got enough. Like they would
I agree. Yeah.
Like so 2D, it's not even funny, right? So there's that element to it, plus the fact that if you did bring her into live action, like, because you cannot have a conversation about Makari without also breathing Flash in the next sentence. And I fear that the same thing would have been the same for Kahori. So I think having this little step in before that might in that blow.
Yeah, I've definitely seen the like conversation of like, is she a speedster? If so, is she one of the best new speedsters? Like, and
can you call a robot a speedster?
I don't know.
Why not? If you can use the speed for it, it is.
Okay, but what would you also designate a speedster? Is it a person that can move at superhuman speeds or needs a power set to do so?
Sure.
I
mean, I've heard the talk like, is Superman a speedster? Some people say no. Some people say yes. But like, you know, but yeah, I mean, I would love to see more of her. I hope we do. I don't know where, but and I guess we kind of did in like a future episode of the season. But
yeah.
All right, let's move on to what if Hela found the 10 rings. Now, I said previously the last one was the best episode of the season. I think this was my favorite episode of the season because this is kind of everything I want from What If. This, when you pitch a show like What If, this is the storylines that you bring and be like, hey, we take this story and we're taking this story and we're making this entirely new thing, this fresh new story. And what an insane episode this was. What was your kind of
I love you, right? But if you rewind our conversation like 30 minutes ago, that was a big negative for us, right? What you just said was a positive. Like, because what you just said is basically they took two movies and put them together and gave you something new.
Well, but I would argue that they told relatively the same story. This was a completely new thing. I would argue that this was completely fresh.
Because, like, up until like to when Wu tried to kiss her, I would say it was the same. Only after that, it took.
I mean, that's fair, I guess. I mean, it does take a lot of elements from like Thor and stuff, I guess.
So many.
But I would say that
all the way up until that moment. Don't get me wrong. I love this episode. Kate Blanchett brought her dry humor from Hela in Thor Ragnarok, and in these scenes, it worked just as good. It was hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
And then the bit where Anthony Hopkins, Mr. Odin himself, like it's like, I cast you out. You know what I mean? Like, still gives me chills. You know?
I'm shocked he came back. I thought they were going to give like someone else to play him. No, he came back and he.
When he's operating next to Kate Blanchett, can you blame the man? Like, both of them national treasures. So they did add a really cool twist in it, and it, like, because I'm gonna be honest, like, the whole thing was her being set up to her to get her crown back. I did not think that was going to happen. If I'm honest, I was like, that's definitely going to go to somebody else. There's no way. You know what I mean? Because of how dead set and ironclad she was about everything. For her to have that change and then come back all like Galadriel, like all glowing white and stuff, I was like, that is so cool. And even more so, like when her helmet was like, and it started doing that Mjolnir trajectory, I was like, oh, that's just gonna snap her head right off when that lands. But then they did like a little, ooh, it's going on nice and gentle. I was like, okay, that's cool. That's cool. And then, oh my God, Shang-Chi's mum. Like, oh my God. Yes. In, is it Taolong, the place that they were in with the big tiger dog things? And Morris, star of the goddamn show, coming back again. Rocking it.
I also think it really helps. I think people have been really craving more like Shang-Chi stuff. He had this movie, everyone loved it, and we haven't seen him in 2 years now. It's like I think people really wanted more of that. I think next year we should have had another movie by this point. Like, I think they should have. I think they're waiting for like King Dynasty stuff to set things into motion. But the fact that I don't think they've written a script for it. They haven't filmed it. Like, I think it's too long of a wait. I think they needed one like 2024, 2023, 2024.
What hit me as well is something you kind of brought up before. That this show could have been a massive utility to the MCU, right? Granted, its viewership isn't that great, but in how the Loki, Doctor Strange, WandaVision, like so many of their projects have set up mechanics of how their show is and their universe are working. This was like the perfect chance. You have a near eternal being sat in the machine, knowing how it works and is fixing it as we're going. Give us something, anything. I'll take scraps at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Massive missed opportunity.
I do think. I mean, I talked about how much I miss like Shang-Chi. I've also really missed Hela. I think killing her off was one of the worst things the MCU ever did. I always assumed she was going to come back, and I think she still could, especially after this. Like, this could have been the thing. It was like, do people like seeing her? And we had a lot of her this back half, a lot. Like, she was in 3 separate episodes, which was a lot of fun. But I think getting just to see her perspective on everything was such a great vehicle. Seeing, I think the cruelness of Odin. Because Odin's always been this very black and whitish type character. Like, he's done some horrible things, but we've only seen kind of the better kind of parts of him. So kind of to see the villainous side of him was really, really cool. And her arc was a lot of fun to see. Her Thor arc, because it's relatively the same overall arc, but I do think it fits a lot more interesting on her. The only real issue I had with the episode was, again, that time thing where it's a very rushed arc. Like we see her arc in like 10 seconds, and as cool as it is very rushed. Like, you don't get to spend much time. You don't actually get to see the growth. You're just kind of told that it's happening. So that's an issue for me. But
do you know, I'm upset that Kate Blanchett or Hela is dead as well.
Yeah.
And at the time of Thor Ragnarok, I even questioned, can you kill Death? Do you know what I mean? Obviously, they're just Asgardians, but when she's got that crown on, she should be the personification of death and unkillable.
Sure.
So they could go that route if they wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've always said that Hela and Ultron both would come back at some point. Like, I think they're both such massive villains. So to just say, oh, we killed him off is very weird to me. It's always been very weird to me. I always thought, and I don't know where she would, like, return. Like, I don't know where that would happen. That's like a Thor, 5 or a 6 or something, or if that's an Avengers movie. How insane would that be? Like, an Avengers movie with her as the villain? That'd be kind of crazy. But, like, I don't know. There's something. One thing I also kind of wanted to bring up. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This is real quick. But speaking of alternate versions, this isn't the one that rocks up later in episode 9, is it?
I don't think so. No, they're 2 separate.
You weren't white. That's the only thing that threw me off. Is the fact that she rocked up later. I was like, oh, is that?
Yes. Which I thought they should have just brought, unless it's like an earlier version of her. I don't think so. I was very shocked about that too. Like she shows up 2 times after this, and each time I'm like, oh, she's back. I was like, oh wait, no, it's a different.
I know, and it's the point. After giving us something so amazing, like a goddess of death that does not want to just go out and kill everybody, like, but actually gets it now. That and you're just gonna leave us with that, and that's it. And you're going to give us something else now? Are you crazy?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, you hooked us. You got us. You got us where you wanted us. Dangling. This is where we are right now. And then you're like, right, wait a minute. We got something else now. It's like, I was so hungry for that. God damn.
I definitely hope we see more of her in like a What If season 2. Like, or 3, I'm sorry. Like, if there's 2 characters I think I want sequels to next year, as much as I like Captain Carter, I would give her a break. I'd put her aside for a season because we have had a lot of her. I would do Hela and I would do Kyoshi. I would do those 2. I would have them be I'm sorry. Corey, thank you. I would give them like sequel episodes next season.
I would have who they sadly made the villain of the piece, because I think he is
Strange,
a tremendous character that could have had so much potential.
Yes, we will get to that. We will get to that because I have opinions on how we ended the season. I also just wanted to mention before we move on to this thing, 2023 is on a very interesting thing with like the Thor siblings, where we have now got to see the redemption arc of all three siblings, starting with obviously Thor. The season we saw Loki and his triumph to become like the god of stories, and now Hela. And I mean, what I like, Secret Wars is way too big, but I would love somewhere if we got to see all three meet. Like they're all from like different timelines and like multiverses and stuff. But like I think a scene with all three of them that have all grown into these different people would be really, really fascinating.
It would have to be like the Loki in the chair projecting a version of himself down to talk.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. But something that like Liam and I were discussing in the episode was she talks about Odin's new girlfriend, like Freya or whatever her name is, like Thor's mum, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which leads to the question is, who's hers?
Yeah.
Because that's a whole thing that just...
Who's her mom? Yeah. I have no idea.
But like this is the thing, right? So like Freya could potentially, depending on like how the situation is, as we know, like sometimes the nature of a wonderful woman can temper the ferocious or adventurous tempers of a man, right?
Sure.
So Freya rocking up could have been like the one going, 9 seems like enough for realms, maybe start thinking about retirement, like the beaches in Asgard are great this time of year. Who needs to conquer? You know what I mean? Like that could have been the thing, but then like the woman that's with Odin for the rest of the thing, like getting there going, oh, I cannot wait to see you kill everybody. Oh my God. Do you know what I mean? That's like a whole dynamic like that I would have been very interested in, because that's like almost Shakespearean, like, and then like the fact that Loki was sat there doing Shakespeare, and like you have the potential of a whole Shakespeare thing. Like, come on, come on.
Oh well, I have to disappear for like 60 seconds. Darth, while I'm gone those 60 seconds, could you start on our talk of what if the Avengers assembled in 1602?
Oh, wow.
I will be right back.
Okay, so one, this is a really great episode. Okay, something I always think of when I think of like Marvel 1602 is Peter Parquois and like how he looks with the little Elizabethan ruffles. 90%. I'm not sure if he was in this. Dude, come on. I'm not sure if he was in this episode. I think he was. We'll get into that in a minute. But this was a really, really good episode. Surprisingly, Happy Hogan Hulk turns up again. So that's a wonderful cameo that nobody asked for. But this deals with they know that their universe is dying. There is wow. Okay, so I've said something that I've now realized that Marvel may have been doing, right? Because there are mechanics set up here that was set up in mechanics carried on through here that was set up in Multiverse of Madness, i.e. incursions. So incursions can happen either through dream walking, just another person interacting with another reality, or even just one being there in a passive capacity, i.e. Captain America. I say passive, the dude was Robin Hood. So there is that, right? But so basically their world is breaking and it is up to Scarlet Witch to save it. Who was the I want to say it was Hela that was in charge before.
Yes.
Or was
which I also thought was very cool, like a fun what if of just like what if all siblings just got along, or like under the same roof together? Like, just seeing that was very fun. Like a Thor that was like, no sister, like my queen. Like that was a lot of fun. And now he's vengeance. Like he is his vengeance to like revenge her, and Peggy Carter killed him, which I thought Thor was kind of dumb this episode, but so was Odin at times. So I thought that was kind of fun.
What's just dropped as well is like, I don't think it's ever stated the year that Odin defended Norway from the Frost Giants.
Mm-hmm.
But it could just be a case of they never left. Do you know what I mean? And then there they are 100 years later, or however long, in charge.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you had talked about while I was away, but I was
talking about the Happy Hogan cameo that nobody asked for. Shocking.
I love Happy Hogan, but this was maybe the weird one for me. I was like, a weird place to put him, I think. Like, again, I love Happy. I mean, like Jon Favreau directed we wouldn't have had the MCU if it wasn't for Happy Hogan. Like, I love him so much. This was a weird spot, but I mean, it was okay. I think the one thing that I did take away is I did like the real scale of this. This to me felt kind of like an event. This was the closest I think we're going to get. I mean, I guess the scale of the next episode was much, much bigger as far as scale, but this I think is the closest we're going to get to a long time to an Avengers movie. This to me felt like an Avengers movie.
We keep saying it. This could have been a special, right? Because like I was something I was saying that when you were gone is that I complained that it didn't set up the mechanics, but it did continue the mechanics set up from Multiverse of Madness, i.e. incursions, right? The interesting thing is that now we're seeing these tears. I can't remember if we've seen them before. Maybe in Spider-Man, but that's like a whole different like magic situation. Magic has caused that.
Sure.
And it kind of had like people waiting in the wings of like a visual Easter egg. But here, the rips are green, which comes in later at the end of the season.
Yeah.
But do you know what I mean? It is still carrying in those things. So like, as kind of like a precursor to like Secret Wars and like the Kang Dynasty, is they could have had this as like a 40-minute thing, but like live action maybe even as well, and literally say, like spell it out for people because they might not have got it with Multiverse of Madness that someone from our reality shouldn't be here. It's going to break everything, even just one guy, right? Which means that there is an issue for the universe that Monica Rambeau is in.
Sure, yeah.
Because nobody's talking about that. Because now those poor X-Men are screwed until they find a way to send her home.
Yeah. Which I'm curious how much. I don't mean to get off track too much, but I am wondering if that's going to be a big plot of Deadpool as well. Like, I assume, and how we're going to get around that because I assume Wade's going to jump over to our universe, right? It's potential that Logan. Yeah, like with that Logan. Because I'm just going out on a limb. It seems like that Logan is not the same Logan we followed in the past. Like this is gonna be like a different version of that character. So,
right. As also Endgame has told us, a branch in the timeline is not time travel. It is an alternate reality.
Yes.
Right. So, like, Gamora is here, so we're doubly screwed. Do you know what I mean? Like, incursion should be happening left, right, and center for the things that are happening in our reality. But here we are, safe as a little lamb.
I do kind of want to get back to like the Avengers thing really quick and
sorry.
Almost every it's totally fine. Almost every episode. I mean, look at almost every episode this season. There was either some version of the Avengers, or there was like this wasn't Avengers, but they had like an Avengers, like they had a Guardians Avengers-esque team. This had the Avengers. This had an Avengers. This not the Avengers, but they were kind of present in the start or whatever. Right? This had the Avengers. This did not. This did not. This did. Like this kind of did. Like there's so many Avengers, and this season really made me realize not just how important I think the Avengers are to the MCU and how much we've missed them, but how much like interconnectivity is very important to the MCU. And I think this season understood that to the T. That obviously we love all these characters. These characters are great. We watch their movies. They're awesome. But I do think ultimately what people come for, and what made it so special to begin with, is when A character and B character and C character all interact with each other. And I think this episode for me was like a mini, hey, the Avengers are coming. Here's this. We had all of the Avengers again in a thing. All of the different pieces. We had Ant-Man with Cap, with Iron Man, with Hulk, with Scarlet Witch, with Sam, with Bucket. Like not Sam, but Bucket. Like, it had all these different elements here at play for the first time in a while, and it felt nice. Again, my only issue is the issue I've been saying all the whole time is that it was too short. We didn't have enough time to spend with them. I wanted another 15 or so minutes just to let it breathe, because it goes really, really fast. This episode, they don't have any time to like dilly-dally. It's like this thing happens and this thing and this thing. And again, it's not their fault. They did a phenomenal job of what they were doing here. Like, I think they set up a concept, they set up a world, they set up all these characters, and it was very, very creative. I loved how creative this episode was. I love how we had like little yellow jacket army men, and they're going in the pistols, and they're getting like, there's so many. You had the thing from Thor 1 come in, and it's all like medieval now, and like Wanda's an actual like middle-aged witch. That's fun. Like, you have all these elements that just work so unbelievably well.
And Iron Man was like, "It's all this language you speak. It's music to my
those...
ears. I have no idea what it means."
Yeah, so much.
What capacitor? Just like you. Oh my god.
Oh,
but
yeah,
like the small bit that I've read of the original comics.
Sure.
Like that's the thing. It is Marvel, but it is in the 1602 universe.
Sure.
Like, yes, there are like some comic liberties that they take, but nothing compared to this episode.
Yeah.
If I'm honest. Do you know what I mean? And I would have liked to have seen that a little bit more.
Sure.
Just a little bit more. And then, like, something I said as well when you were gone is that we didn't get Peter Pacqua, or however you say it, right?
Yeah.
Pacqua. And he's a part of the 1602 thing. And the biggest thing that I take away, apart from Sir Nicholas Fury looking all dead with his little hat, but there was a guy, right? There was a handsome dude that kept popping up every now and then, right? With like no outfit or whatever. He was just a part of Steve Rogers' crew. And it was a guy, just a handsome-looking random B character that could have been him or could not have been him.
Sure.
I don't know. I'm in my little head canon. I'm going to say it was him, but I still feel this universe lacking the Peter Parker it should have had.
I'm very curious what if's allowed to do with Spider-Man, because obviously we had him for like one episode last season, but I'm very, very certain if they were allowed to have him more, they would have had him more. Like, Spider-Man's that guy. Like that's going to be your most watched episode of the show. And I know they're doing the like Spider-Man show that comes out this year, but I wonder if they're like, hey, you got him for like one episode and that's it or something.
Yeah.
Which happens to be the zombie episode. Like, if I would have used him for any episode, it would not have been zombies personally.
No, not at all.
So I don't know. That's just me. But I did.
Back to Leo's comment quickly, I want to say that yes, she time traveled, but because of Endgame's rules, it's a different universe. Like, the second anything got changed, it was instantly a branch universe, which may or may not have been clipped by the TVA, but still would have been separate. And Gamora is an anomaly.
Sure, 100%. I assume you're much smarter when it comes to the time travel stuff than I am. Alrighty, let's talk about the season finale of What If, the last episode of the season.
Door shut.
Which was What If Strange Supreme intervened. Now this was the episode that kind of like merged all the episodes together. Kind of was like the moment we had last season where they brought all the stories on. This was on a lot lesser scale than last season, but it was like their kind of crossover type one. This seems to be the most like divisive episode online currently, as far as how people are feeling about it, and what it entailed. What's just kind of your general thoughts on it? Because I just want to say I think this episode was fun. This episode was a blast to watch. But I don't know how I feel just like overall. What was your kind of like thoughts on it?
Sorry, one second, just replying to this comment quick. I loved it. I say I loved it. Okay, so I'm not gonna lie here. So I enjoyed the visual element of it. I enjoyed like spotting variants. Like, oh, how is that person different? Oh,
Yeah.
how is that person different? That person has that person's powers. Cool, right? But I was so instantly and like put off by what the problem was, right? Like, how are you making Strange the villain? What is wrong with you? Do you know what I mean? Like, that guy had an amazing episode, okay?
Yeah.
And then, like, basically learned his lessons, right? I get the point of the episode is those demons, those primordial, like, demons that he took over to fix a fixed point. I get that they took over. But, like, that could have been and should have been done in a much more interesting way. It should have been carried on through the start of the season. Like, there's no way that it should have just been, oh, he's popped up at the end.
Yeah.
What's
it
that?
feels like what they did with Wanda and Doctor Strange, where the arc is cool. What they do with that character, I think, is very cool in concept, but it happens. It's just like, hey, he's better now. And it's like, oh, just kidding. No, he's not. He's a serial killer and trying to kill millions of people. And it's like, oh my gosh. Okay, we're doing this now. Okay, whatever. And I've definitely seen the two different sides of it about like just like a great episode that shows the strength of grief. And I do think it's an interesting talk because Real Rejects brought up a good point when they were talking about it, where it's like it does like it felt like he got over his grief and then he was okay, and then but also like they brought up a very good point where like grief doesn't just go away. Like you can have good days and then it comes back. Like once you're alone enough, it will come back and it will fester and it will grow. And I think that's true. I guess I just wanted to see a more on-screen representation of it, you know, because it's all off screen.
Like yes, right, yes, but right, and this is where we talk about arrogance again, right? Because I understand that Doctor Strange is an arrogant character, right? But his whole universe floated away, like just twinkled away in front of him in like some black, ashy, goopy nonsense, right? With Christine, the whole focus of all of his effort, all of his 100 years of sucking in demons, which I'm sure did not taste like peppermint, right? Sucking them all in, having his form change, having to deal with all of that and looking like he hasn't slept in years, right? Having to deal with all of that. She's there in his arms going, oh my God, what have you done? Right?
Yeah.
Everything's gone. She's gone. That, right? That is like the biggest consequence where the person, the object of your saving has gone, dude, you've gone too far. Like, I am not worth this. I don't want this. Rewind it. You done fucked up, right? He obviously couldn't. So then he learned about consequence. You can't fix the fixed point. And then for him to go, oh, right, I can just magically rebirth a whole bunch of universes at the cost of this. So let me kill a whole bunch of other Christines.
Yeah.
Just quickly, while I save this Christine. Phenomenal idea. Great.
And I guess and here's the thing, I think like it is at the end, like it showed that like his grief was like manifested into this other thing, this other demon, which I thought was cool. Like I thought like that's a good just like representation of like grief and stuff. And you know, maybe his mindset was like, well, I'm not just saving her this time. I'm saving the entire world that I killed, right? That I destroyed. And again, I want to see that though. I want to see that fall back into madness because I don't think it helps that like that Doctor Strange episode from last season. If that was on its own, just like if that was a movie, just like a movie, whatever. That's in like my top 5 MCU things ever. Like I think it's one of the greatest things they've ever done. It is a perfect 30-minute thing. And I do think and an
issue as well because right, an issue from number 1 is that what Loki has told us, the Infinity Stones do not work outside of their universe. That's it. right? So just
Yeah,
because they're plugged
you're
into
right.
machine's armor doesn't mean diddly squat. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And then like Doctor Strange got it. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not annoyed that I bought into it because like I was supposed to buy into it. He learned his lesson and he now had a new
Yeah.
job. It was to look after Zola and look after Killmonger, make sure they stayed in that stalemate because either one of them, given Ultron's armor and power set and stones, could wipe out all of reality in the multiverse. That's what their game was. Do you know what I mean? And then also to have Killmonger robbed of that. I mean, that's not to say that's what his motivations were. Do you know what I mean? Like at the end of number one, but that was one of the implications is that everything else is going to go to pot and Wakanda is going to rule and be made the best. Or everything's going to get wiped out. I don't know, but it weren't great. And then he just got rocked up as a C-level character.
Yeah.
At the end of this episode, I mean, there was no cohesion in any of this.
I definitely would have rather have seen that story about like him with the stones. Like I think that's a fascinating story that we didn't get to see.
Because his stuff may not have been fixed points.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He's just trying to like genuinely deal with the abolition of slavery and like see like the rise of his people that are being downtrodden for centuries, and rightfully so. There's nothing to say they're fixed points, so the world could safely and potentially look very different in Killmonger's hands.
Yeah, 100%. And maybe, I mean, it could have been potentially better. Like, I'm not saying it is, but like, he wasn't like he's one of those villains where it's like, well, good intention, bad method, right? So like, I would have loved to. I think that would have been a fascinating what if story. I want to talk about like the cameo stuff for a minute, because I think that's a lot the thing. It's getting talked a lot about on Twitter. Obviously, the scene that we have on screen is insanity. Carter, obviously, with the stones and with the Hela's helmet and the sword from, I don't even know where the sword came from. I don't even know who that was.
That's Heimdall's, isn't it?
Was it? Okay. And all these different things, and I definitely think that element of the episode was a lot of fun. I think they went balls to the wall of just like, we let everyone out, have 1,000 cameos a scene. And I think it's one of the better, like, I think it works in this context. Like we've talked a lot about like with the Flash or stuff like that. Like when does the, like cameo type stuff get too far? I think it worked here. Didn't think it was insane. I do think it was a little bit too much though. Like they do focus so much on that and not enough on the actual story for my taste.
See, as like a background thing, that's exactly how chaotic I want Secret Wars to be.
Yeah.
Right. I want it to be like Endgame, where I'm just looking in the background at like tiny people. Like, who is that? There's so many people. This is great. You know? But again, not at the expense of everything. It can be at the background.
Yes, I agree.
You know? But that being said, why it was happening, like i.e. the fact that Strange was had multiple universes ready to go, jam-packed, and it was a jailbreak. I'm fine with that logic. That's cool, you know. Is what it is.
I definitely think this is the episode that felt the most hollow, I guess. Like it felt the most just
Marvel feature episode.
Yeah, it just felt like, we have this idea where all the characters from the comics and stuff are in there. Like there's a rocket there's like a cyborg rocket, and there's all these things. There's multiple Thor. Like it's fun. It is fun, but it feels like it was made by commission more than a lot of the things that we've seen. Yeah. Especially because I think the back half, like 1602, Hela, they all, like these three in a row were just some of my favorites of the whole thing, and then we go to this one where it is good. It's okay.
It's a spectacle. It's a spectacle. 100%. It's fun to watch, but when you sit there and think about it, you're like, well, why are we here?
Yes. And especially after, like, again, I thought season 1 was kind of a little bit rough. I didn't think it was amazing, but I do think its ending was really good. I thought Ultron was an incredible final boss, and I think the way they were able to bring it all together was significantly better than what we got here. Again, not that this was bad, but I mean, Ultron
I
was
would have had
absolutely
Ultron
incredible
like looming from the start. If I'm honest, I might have had
from season 1. Sure.
like Black Widow's episode first, and
Oh,
then
interesting. Okay.
have the Watcher become like a multiversal Nick Fury, and then have him go, right, I think this universe, because wait till you see what
You end each episode with him bringing in character, and I could see that.
Yeah,
I could definitely see that.
Like they could have had like a much better through line for this story than one of the more powerful, intelligent heroes that learned one of the biggest lessons and was like, yeah, I get it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and there's so many things he could have done. Do you know what I mean? Even just reaching out, like the Watcher's a part of AA and he's a sponsor. Do you know what I mean? Like, dude, I'm really struggling here in the dome right now. Can you just pop by for a tea and a chat? Anything than him just being the next bad guy. That makes no sense.
Here's the thing I almost feel like with him, where like I can almost condone his action. I can almost
please.
If what he had just said to Peggy at the start was true, if it was just the villains, I could maybe be like, you know what? Okay, you shouldn't kill people to bring back a thing that you did. But if it's like imagine he was like, I'm going to get Hitler from every universe, grab them all together, and it brings back an entire world, I could be like, screw it, do it. If it's just your Thanoses, your Lokis, your Ultrons, I could be like, screw it, yeah, bring back your wife, bring back that world, do it. I'll honestly go for it. But it's then you're like, okay, now there's a Raccoon and Thor's and Captain Marvel's and Howard the Ducks, and it's like, okay, yeah, this isn't ethical. We kind of got to stop you. That's when that kind of comes into play.
Even just one world in exchange for one world is too much.
Yeah,
you can't do that. He was trying to sacrifice hundreds. What it looked like.
Yeah, probably billions. Yeah,
there's no way grief takes over that much. Do you know what I mean? Like, yes, they're monsters. Yes, grief made him destroy the universe in the first place. But that's my point. He's already done it and failed. He learned what destroying a universe costs him and everybody else. But no, here he is, not a couple of years later, laying waste to hundreds of them.
Yeah.
I mean, as if he hadn't learned his lesson at all. As if season 1 didn't happen. That's what annoys me. There's no character continuity for the man.
Yeah, I somewhat, I don't disagree. I really don't. I think like where I'm just like, no, wait, now is I do think they try to get across that it's his grief has turned into this separate entity, right? It's this like demon inside of him that's kind of taken over, and I think that's cool, but they don't show that is the issue. Like they don't let you know that as an audience throughout this whole thing. It's at the very end. Oh, yeah, it's a grief thing, and we don't get to see that transition from him dealing with the grief, from him slowly going back into his place, because stuff like this, like grief and like sadness, that stuff never goes away. That's always with you. So him learning from his stuff and then coming back to it, I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. We just don't see that journey.
He lived for like 300 years, roughly, if not longer. And he had like an increasing amount of villains in it, demons and that in him.
Yeah.
And then so like he can live all of that time and no problem, but the second he's put in charge of a job, he starts having doubts and crumbling. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Like he still, it's not like a case of, I was kept busy so I couldn't let it win. You were still kept busy. You still had stuff to do. Just because it was watching 2 dudes, that doesn't mean you didn't have a job. Do you know what I mean? Like he should have had more control over what he did. Like it's almost as if he got in that bubble and then was like, shit, I'm in prison too. And then just let it all go. Do you know what I mean? Just let it all hang out.
Sure.
Left his washing on the line and was like, oh, woe is me. Grief, take over, please. Oh, I'm just so sad. It gave it like, it flipped the script way too hard.
I agree. And it definitely comes out of nowhere. It definitely, again, I don't hate it in concept, but I think they did it not great. And it is very disappointing to me because he was the one what if character that I wanted them to bring into live action.
Yeah.
I wanted him, and like you're like Doctor Strange 3. Like I kind of wanted him to be the villain. And who knows, maybe you technically still could, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. We are heading towards the end of the stream. I do kind of want to end it off on kind of how we end the season, and that's with Peggy being like, "Hey, let's maybe we can go like the long route home and stuff like that." And I kind of just want to talk about Peggy as a character and kind of the internet's reception of her right now, because people have not that they dislike Peggy, but they dislike the amount she's been in this season. And that's been a big topic of like, what's Marvel's obsession with Peggy Carter? I personally loved her this season. I love her as a character. I love Agent Carter as a show. What's your take on just kind of like this whole thing and this idea that maybe she's even more present next season?
I would say they have a problem with super soldiers, because the second they let go of Steve, they grabbed onto her with like the tightest clutch they could.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't have a problem with Captain Carter in the least, honestly. She's a great character. The fact that she's a cartoon lets her be a lot more creative in her fighting than Steve has been allowed to be live action. So she's out there pulling off bits, and it was just as fun watching her fight Batroc as it was Steve. Like, my only issue is like super serum doesn't make you like some nigh on impossible god where you can rock Ultron armor and 6 of Infinity Stones at the same time. You know, like it just doesn't happen.
It is sometimes very silly that they mark her as like the savior of the multiverse. Like, she's out here fighting Thor and, you know, a Doctor Strange who's like one of the most powerful people like in the multiverse. Like, he is.
Yeah,
I would argue he's the most powerful MCU character we've seen to date. Like, he's insanely powerful, and I don't know. That's kind of an issue for me at times. But as a character, I enjoy her.
She is great. She's great, and like what's great is it's shown so far like why her and Steve work so well together.
Yeah,
it's not a case of opposites attract or like they're both strong but very different people. Is they walk a very, very similar line.
Sure.
In most things. So like they are very much shown to be like kind of like soulmates, really. So I like that. I like what they've done to her as a character. I'm excited to see more of her. Not gonna lie, like there was like a cheeky little eye roll when she rocked up in Multiverse of Madness, because I was like, oh, of course, you know, one of them was, you know. But yeah, you know, if we don't get Steve, I'm more than happy we have more in her. I just don't want her to overshadow Sam, right?
Yes.
Because we don't need like an abundance of super soldiers to make a story interesting.
We need Sam back ASAP. It's been, and I think that's the main criticism of people. Like, we don't hate Peggy, but we've had Peggy like 5 times since we've had Sam in the MCU, right? We haven't seen his Captain America in the MCU. I don't think that's the MCU's fault. It's just the way tables have turned, and you know, the strikes and COVID and trying to get this movie out. It's been rough. And I hope he's in more. I hope he's in like Thunderbolts. Like I need to see him as Captain America. I need to see him. Like, that's so important for the MCU. Like, at the moment, I think Sam is our new Iron Man type character. I think that's what he's going to be. We just haven't seen it. And that's very frustrating. And as far as like what season 3 is, the way I understood the ending was that's what season 3 is going to be. Is her going on every story with the Watcher, which again I have mixed feelings on. Part of me kind of agrees with a lot of people where it's like, hey, maybe you should take a break and focus on some other people. At the same time, though, I do kind of like the idea of a potential storyline of them being like, the Watcher cannot intervene. That's his whole thing. He can watch, but he can't intervene. But Peggy, on the other hand, she can. So him kind of having this like almost like a Doctor Who type thing where they go along the different like multiversal stories and they fix the problems and they leave and then they go to a next place. Like I could kind of see that type of thing with them, which could be very fun.
Especially doing that dynamic of he's like, the worlds die all the time, and she's like, no, dude, this one can be saved.
Yeah.
Stop walking off. Back. Let's see. Come on.
100%. I think it could be a lot of fun. But again, I also understand where people are coming from, where it's like,
it is dangerous to lean on her too much. Yeah.
Yes, 100%. If she's in every episode next season, it might be a little bit too much for me. So I'll be curious where we kind of take that. We also saw a sneak peek for season 3. I don't know if you saw that sneak peek.
I did. That was hilarious.
It was very funny. I was a little confused why that was the scene they showed though. Like out of everything to kind of advertise for the next season, I was like,
it was fun and like there was no consequence to it. Do you know what I mean? It literally gave nothing away. It just showed like you're in for the fun, same humor, but you're getting more of the people that like. Not to say that we haven't had people that we want, but you're going to get more of the people that like you're clamoring for. You know?
Sure.
I'm really nervous with season 3 though, because it's exciting and stuff. I don't want Peggy to be in it. The other issue is I've forgotten. Did she walk off with all of that armor?
No, I don't think so.
She's back to just Captain Peggy again.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because that was going to be like a whole thing for me of like, what happens to everything else that she just blocked all that from? You know.
Mm-hmm.
I would be really interested, since we've done like going back. I would like next if each season we went back to somewhere that we've been, like in a previous season. And for me, the episode that I would like to go back to is is when the Watcher dropped Black Widow off. And, and she rocked up, and then she's on the team with Captain Marvel fighting Ultron bots.
Yeah. And
like Nick Fury's there, he's like, yeah, you're not our Widow, but you sure have her energy. Let's team up. You know?
Yeah, sure.
That looks so fun.
I kind of thought when that scene was happening last season, the first thing that popped into my mind was like, are we getting Black Widow back in the MCU? Like, I thought they were about to place her in the MCU for a second. I was like, wait a minute, what does this mean? This is crazy. I would definitely be down seeing her again though, getting a follow up to her story. Liam asked, have they hinted at a release date for season 3? So this is something I've been very curious. We've heard nothing. It's not on the bracket for this year, but I would not be shocked if they squeak it in somewhere this year, because the fact that they put out a teaser this early is kind of insane. Like, we didn't have a trailer for season 2 until about not even a month before the season started. So the fact that they're already starting to market it a little bit is kind of crazy to me. I was almost wondering, I said this on Twitter, is there something in season 3 that needs to come out before Deadpool? Was kind of a thought I had. Like, was there something that they either hint at? Not to say Deadpool's in the season. I'm not trying to say that, but like, is there a multiverse thing that happens there where they tease, kind of like what they did with Loki this season, where it's like, oh, there's a tree, something like that needs to come out before Deadpool 3.
Something that made me sad just thinking about it is the fact that they do have this stuff ready to go. That really does again lend into the argument of the MCU overworking their animators.
Yep. Yeah, and if this does come out next year, we will have 4 Marvel animated things with Spider-Man, Black Panther, X-Men, and potentially What If. Like, that's a lot.
But that's sad.
It is a lot. It's very sad. And I mean, a lot of these have been done for a while too, which is kind of crazy. Like, they've just been holding them for so long. I don't know. But
the strikes as well. Like, they managed to get all of this done through striking.
Well, here's the thing. This wasn't like affected by the strikes. Like this is like a different guild. So they they were one of the few people that were continuing to be able to work. Yeah.
Wow.
It's not affected. Yeah. Animation is a whole separate thing. Yeah.
Wow. Fantastic loophole.
So these guys were the people that weren't affected. Like they were probably working on we have all this extra time to make this look even better.
People working they're striking.
Which actually makes sense now that I think about it, why there's so much coming out next year. Why X-Men, Spider-Man, and Black Panther is all coming out next year, or this year now, I guess.
That's an exciting thing, but I feel bad for them. They should definitely count. Animators and writers should definitely count in guilds. I mean, I hope they got their own.
No, it's like a whole different guild. Like they have their whole separate thing.
They have their own.
They didn't. Yeah.
Okay.
They didn't need to strike.
They need to start striking. If they're that overworked that they got this much stuff coming out, and everything's an issue, maybe they need to start striking. God damn, help you guys. But before we do finish, I want to say that I loved the green tree for Loki. Right.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and then the fact that the tears were green as well, tying that into Loki very nicely. Loved that they showed like the world tree Idrisil, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which like makes me giggle, right? Because either like what they showed us is a tiny snippet of it, right? Or they showed us the whole thing, and the apparently the multiverse is an Idrisil in an Idrisil in an Idrisil in an Idrisil,
Sure.
which will be trippy as hell, right? But this whole season 2 has shown us, and I'm saying this to Liam, is that everybody's idea that Loki's out there annihilating Kangs is nonsense. And this episode proves it, that Loki is no more than a glorified watcher. That man is now a battery. The only thing he's doing
is holding the strings together.
Keeping those strings tight, keeping them alive, giving them a whip every now and then, right? And maybe looking in on some, doing the old rope, right? And then, like, that's it. He's not down there.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
Like the one above all, like sitting there pinpointing stuff. Because one, this season has shown us that he does not interfere. There were worlds on worlds. Like, he got into the position he was in because there was Sylvie, a Kang he didn't like, but kind of liked, Mobius, C13, the one that like became the manager, right? Casey. There was like less than 10 people on like from their realities that he seemed to care about, right?
Yeah.
There were hundreds in that pit, if not thousands, and he was just sitting in that chair looking as handsome as he does. Okay, so there was not a finger he was lifting. Okay, so that just proves that completely for me. Do you know what I mean? And then second is the fact that you cannot scale for infinite. The whole point of Loki season 2 is they couldn't expand the rings to scale for infinite. There is an infinite amount of Kangs all over the damn place. TVA be damned. Okay, that's the whole point of that organization. Anyway, so Loki is not out there controlling everything. He is a watcher. That is what If has shown us.
No, I mean, like that was the thing I had said back when I think it was like during our final Loki stream, is what I had said was like, I bet you that the reason What If couldn't come out sooner is because they were waiting for Loki to come out. I feel like I'm half right, wrong, because like clearly, there's a thing that references Loki at the end of the season. That's very cool. But they also could have cut that out if they needed to. Like, I love that it's there, but if they needed it to come out before Loki, they could have done it. They could have just trimmed it. Although the whole multiverse season is green, opposed to it being blue last season, which is a very cool nod. Which means that they've known what they were doing with Loki for a long time before they even started things with season 2. So that's really, really cool. Unless that was changed later on, but it seems like they knew the whole season that they were doing that, so.
I do feel like this is the thing, right? So like season 1, I feel like they had a very clear idea of what they were doing. They had the destination they wanted to get to, and they had the journey that they wanted to go on along the way. Like for Sylvie and Loki, right? With season 2, it genuinely felt like they were in the writer's room and they were like, right, what can we sell to Tom Hiddleston to get him back? Everybody loves him. We need some more meat in those seats. What can we do? God of Stories. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then they just started stumbling their way in the dark, trying to find how to get there. Because from A, B to C, it made no goddamn sense.
Sure.
No goddamn sense. Loki ended up where he did, right? I loved the show, loved the series. All of it was great, but the logic of it was completely flawed, as we know. I'm not going to get into it, right? But it made no goddamn sense. They were just feeling around in the dark. That's it. I forgot what my point was. I just started ranting a bit. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. That's all right. I do you have any kind of like final thoughts on all this stuff, or do you have kind of like we are heading towards the end of our stream here? Do you have any final things you want to say about What If, or kind of the future of the MCU and kind of all that kind of stuff?
since we're on What If, I'm going to talk about What If. So basically, just that they have, like, they genuinely, every time they come to this series, they have the biggest blank canvas that they could possibly ask for. And every time so far, they've spat in our face and spat in the face of what they're working with. Because all they're doing is just reaching for what we know and what we've seen and what they know, because they think we're children. Like, yes, market to, like, I understand, like, marketing something so that children can understand it. But, like, you don't have to make it, like, child level. Do you know what I mean? For that to happen. Like, people can follow a thread, you know, children as well. So, I just wish that, like, they just took something and made it completely unique, right? Because they've done it with Kahori. They give us something magical. Okay, so they know they can do it. They know they can do it. They just choose to play safe.
Yeah.
Which I don't agree with. And I'm giving them the power and just wishing them all the best to just be creative, be confident in yourselves, and just have fun. Do you know what I mean? Don't sit and think, oh, what are they going to like? What's going to sell? What can I get through? Go crazy. Give us something completely new. Give us something really dynamic. That's what I want for season 3.
Yeah. I definitely agree. Like, I've praised this season, this stream. I've really, really enjoyed what they did. I've also said how I think some of them could have done things better. And I think that's the kind of the thing with, like, any anthology series you're going to run into. If it's Star Wars Visions, if it's, like, Diabolical, if it's American Horror Story, if it's any type of these type of shows, you're going to like some, you're going to dislike others. That's kind of the trial and error. And I think especially when ranking a show like this, is always very difficult to be. It's very difficult for me to rank a, like, What If among your, like, WandaVisions or your Secret Invasions, because it's like you got some S tier, but then you also have some C and D tier episodes as well. So
yeah.
But with that being said, we are going to be wrapping up the end of our stream. Darth Bunyan, where can people find you? People want to hear more of your thoughts on things or any of that kind of stuff.
Just type in either Robert Blake or Darth Bunyan lightsabers here on YouTube, and then I pop up. And I'm also on TikTok. My funny videos are on TikTok, and then just random stuff on YouTube, like what we're doing now. So come and drop by and say hi.
Hell yeah, man! Hell yeah! And it's a new year for me. I'll be dropping the official channel schedule pretty soon, either a couple of days on here, but Mondays are the official day for Darren after the credits. Now we should be here as long as there's shows to talk about. I want to be here and talking about next couple of weeks. We got Percy Jackson, we have Reacher, we have, I think, Invincible's coming back soon. I think it's this month, but we also haven't had a date. Like, they haven't put out a thing of when it's coming back, and that's kind of scary. About 9 days, we get Echo, another MCU thing to talk about, which is very exciting.
Ooh. I am very much looking forward to this series.
100%. Yeah, it's like this might. I don't mean to get on a thing already, but, like, this might be the closest between, like, MCU shows we've ever had. Like, it's like a 2-week break. It's kind of insane. But guys, again, thank you. I'm very excited for a good 2024 and all the shows we're gonna be covering this year. There's a lot of fun things coming out. But without further ado, I will see you guys on the flip side. Bye-bye.